Wherever We Roam is the fifth full-length album from Nistrau, Germany-based satanic black metal band Chaos Invocation. And this has been a group that I've celebrated quite a bit in the past for their style, their general treatment of frantic and occult black metal feeling, alongside more refined melodic ideas. And strong guitar work has been behind all of the work from guitarist A, who also features in Porta Nigra more recently and previously played in, I believe, death metal band Crescent. My comparison for their first record back in the day was something like the tension and melodicism of early Dissection and the third Satyricon album, but also their own kind of thing, which was more related to orthodox black metal movements, a little bit of dissonance, but mostly more of a streamlined and melodic sound that was yet rough and classic and 90s in some of its style. I really like the balance of 90s obsession, but also experimenting with modern technique that led to both brilliant sound design on the part of different partnerships over the year, but also just very consistent songwriting that was exciting, majestic in its reveal, and again, written in intelligent arcs of melodic guitar work that particularly always stood out to me. And so they'd reached an apex with Reaping Season, Bloodshed Beyond in 2018, and I felt like they regressed on purpose for Devil, Stone, and Man in terms of producing something that was grimier, it was heavier, it was more direct, and it wasn't leaning into the melodicism of the previous record in such an obvious way. Now, I feel like they've taken a turn here with this record, and that's another kind of angle of regression in terms of returning to the melodic side of the band, but also keeping some of that frantic, mayhemic aggression of the previous record. So we'll get an example of that here and talk about like what's different and what's the same here. So what I understand about a band that is spiritual in the specific way that this group is that they're always intending to improve. There's always another angle forward. There's always a way to ascend even further in their abilities and their way of leaving a dent on the world. And I appreciate that in the way that we'll see a band like Outlaw or even just Dissection in the way that every record is taken seriously and they're amplifying their capabilities with each one. And I think this is a serious improvement in terms of communication with the listener, in terms of both melodic ideas that are driven by strong guitar work, as well as just songs that are they present more of a resonant feeling in general. And I think that's the important thing about this record, is that their general themes here center around liberation of the self and something that is equally devotional at the same time. I think it's very well communicated in the spirit of these songs and the way they express, and I think they do that mostly through strong guitar work, but they've also played with different styles of vocalization. That really is what introduces this record, is different types of vocal work which extend their ability to present something that is choral or that is melodic in a different way, that involves clean vocals as well. So there's a lot more pushing of the artist to create something that is different than the last record and still sounds like Chaos Invocation, and I think they've done a great job of that throughout. It only gets more direct and more sharpened over time as you listen to this record, but we started in a place which is Empyrean. It is dramatic for sure, and I think the production values really help that. They've tweaked everything to the point where this, again, sounds different than Devil, Stone, and Man, but it has a lot of the same character in its wrathful connection with the rhythm guitars, and the drumming is especially fine in this record if you sit down and really pay attention to the way that it directs the flow and movement. And of course, because of that, the bass lines are actually very prominent on this record. I think it's one of my favorite things about this record, is that the bass lines are so audible and so forceful in the way that they move throughout this record. It really stood out to me as something that really hammers down those heavier points of these songs in a way that is just not typical for German black metal and black metal in general of late. The thing that might bother some more puritanical fans out there is that there are some post-black metal feelings here. There are some some more extended crescendo-based movements. There's swells that are a little bit more dramatic. They're presenting something that is bigger, and in that sense, it will appear a bit more modern. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that in terms of expanding their general vernacular and presentation. But I could see how like it just doesn't sound like a plain ass '90s black metal record in that sense. And this sounds like something that came out this year, and that's either a good thing or a bad thing depending on your taste. For me, it was refreshing for this band to do something new on a lot of different fronts throughout the entire album, because it achieves that goal of doing something that is new, that is impressive, and something that is their own at the end of the day. So I had a great time with this record. I was really impressed with what they did. That gets a high recommendation from me, and it released on November 8th. Check it out for yourself, and read my review for more in-depth thoughts on each of the songs and the way the record's overall dynamic plays out as we go from the first half to the second.